Dana White just gave an exciting update about the super fight everyone wants to see. Khabib Nurmagomedov makes a shocking statement that goes against Joe Rogan about what's the biggest fight in MMA. Islam Makhachev destroys Paddy and says he has no chance against Topuria, and Israel Adesanya drops an explosive prediction that could end Makhachev's legend. Dana White just provided a brief but positive update on one of the biggest fights in MMA, and what he said is leaving fans in ecstasy. Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria appeared to be on a collision course earlier this year, creating one of the most thrilling narratives in the sport. The former featherweight champion moved up to lightweight and set his eyes on the 155 belt possessed by Khabib Nurmagomedov's protege, but they didn't stay in the same division for very long, completely changing the dynamic. Makhachev vacated his lightweight strap and moved up to welterweight for a fight with the 170 Beaters king Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 322 on November 15th. In his absence, Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira to claim the vacant lightweight title at UFC 317 in June, establishing himself as the new king of the division. Dana White recently sat down for an interview with the longest yard star, Nick Turturro, and what was discussed will leave you pumped. During their 15-minute conversation, the UFC CEO was asked about a potential fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, which is at the very top of most fans' wish lists as we head towards a new year. Yeah, that could happen too, White said about the UFC super fight, leaving the door wide open. I think everyone wants to see that fight, including Topuria and Islam, the big boss continued, confirming that both fighters are interested in the showdown. Makhachev must first overcome his toughest test to become the welterweight champion at UFC 322, a gigantic task. Topuria will most likely have to defend his lightweight belt at least once before moving up to 170 lobs, keeping the division moving. So, there is still a way to go until that fight becomes a reality, but the big boss is open to the idea of making Makhachev versus Topuria, which will be music to the ears of MMA fans all over the world. This statement from White is significant for several reasons. First, it confirms the UFC is seriously considering this fight. It's not just fan talk. Second, it shows both Makhachev and Topuria want the showdown, eliminating any concerns that one is avoiding the other. Third, it establishes a potential timeline. If Makhachev wins at UFC 322 and Topuria makes at least one title defense, we could see this mega fight in 2026. The timing is perfect for this fight. Both fighters are in their primes, both are champions, and both have something to prove. Makhachev wants to reclaim his position as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, while Topuria wants to prove he deserves to be at the top of those rankings. The stylistic dynamic is fascinating. Makhachev's grappling dominance versus Topuria's devastating knockout power. It's literally an unstoppable force versus immovable object fight. Additionally, there's the legacy narrative. If Makhachev wins, he'll silence any doubts about being the best fighter of his generation. If Topuria wins, he'll establish himself as the new face of the UFC and potentially the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. The stakes couldn't be higher. The fact Dana White is openly discussing this means the UFC is laying the groundwork to make this fight happen. They know they have a gold mine on their hands, a genuine super fight between two of the world's best fighters, both in their prime. This is the kind of fight that breaks pay-per-view records and creates unforgettable moments in UFC history. Fans just need to be patient, but everything indicates this fight will definitely happen. Khabib Nurmagomedov believes the UFC has a bigger fight on the horizon than a massive pairing of Jon Jones and Alex Pereira, and this statement is causing gigantic waves in the MMA community. Seemingly going against the grain, former lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov will be in attendance at UFC 322 this weekend, watching on as his close teammate Islam Makhachev headlines. However, according to the Russian icon, a pairing between former pound-for-pound #1 Jon Jones and current light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira is not the biggest fight in the sport right now, directly contradicting Joe Rogan. Furthermore, according to Nurmagomedov, a bigger fight is available to Dana White, particularly if Makhachev emerges with a win this weekend at Madison Square Garden, creating an epic opportunity. Vacating his lightweight crown in pursuit of welterweight gold, Makhachev initially played down a fight with the undefeated Spanish knockout star Ilia Topuria, generating speculation. However, ahead of his return against Jack Della Maddalena, the Makhachev'S star revealed his ideal pairing next. Another championship victory, showing his unbridled ambition. And as far as Nurmagomedov is concerned, a pairing of Makhachev and Topuria is arguably the bigger fight when compared to a clash of Jones and Pereira. A bold statement that goes against the consensus. I think right now, Ilia Topuria and Islam is the biggest fight, not Jon Jones and Alex Pereira. It's Jones versus Pereira, still a big fight, but not on that level of Islam versus Topuria. I don't think it's same level, Nurmagomedov said, on weighing in, making his position crystal clear. To that point, another fight containing Jones is not on the level of Makhachev and Topuria, according to Nurmagomedov, despite a recent claim that caused controversy. Departing the octagon amid links to a massive fight with Jones, former heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou has once more staked his claim for a shot at the Rochester Star, trying to stay relevant. Tearing up the PFL in his soul. Appearance for the promotion so far, Ngannou has also fought twice in professional boxing against former world champions Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, diversifying his career. However, in his absence, Ngannou boldly claimed an overdue pairing of him, and Jones would be the ideal main event for next summer's UFC White House card. But Khabib clearly disagrees. Khabib's statement is explosive because it comes from someone who understands the sport deeply and isn't just talking for hype. He's making an objective analysis of what constitutes the biggest fight in MMA now, not 3 years ago. Jones versus Pereira is certainly a super fight, but as Khabib points out, Makhachev versus Topuria has elements that make it even bigger. First, both are in their primes, active and winning. Second, both are current champions in adjacent divisions, making the fight logistically simpler. Third, there's a genuine rivalry and mutual respect that adds fuel. Fourth, both have everything to prove. Makhachev wants to reclaim his #1 pound-for-pound status, and Topuria wants to prove he deserves to be there. Compare that to Jones versus Pereira. While it's a huge fight, Jones is talking about retirement and picking his fights carefully. Pereira is on an incredible run, but the weight difference and the fact Jones hasn't fought regularly in recent years adds questions. Khabib is essentially saying, if you want to see the best possible fight with the best active fighters in their primes, it's Makhachev versus Topuria. This also completely devalues Ngannou's claim about Jones. Khabib didn't even mention that possibility because, as he sees it, Ngannou is out of the conversation. He's not an active UFC fighter, has no momentum in MMA, and that fight would be purely about money, not determining the best. Khabib wants legitimate competitions, not money shows. His statement puts Makhachev versus Topuria exactly where it should be, at the top of the list of super fights that need to happen. And when someone of Khabib Nurmagomedov's caliber speaks, Dana White listens. Paddy Pimblett has just been told by one of the greatest lightweights of all time that he will definitely lose to Ilia Topuria when they eventually square off, and the analysis was brutal. Islam Makhachev holds the record for most lightweight title defenses in UFC history, only giving up his belt in order to pursue a second title this weekend at UFC 322 in New York. He will face Jack Della Maddalena for the welterweight belt on Saturday in an effort to make history. When Makhachev casts his eye on what will soon be his former division, he sees a potential title fight between Topuria and Pimblett. Despite never being a big fan of the Georgian, he expects him to be considerably too much for his British rival. Miroslav Makhachev is one of the best lightweights in history, and until his teammate Belal Muhammad lost his welterweight belt, was eyeing a potential matchup with Ilia Topuria. As a result, he knows the new champion well and will have a solid analysis of his abilities, making his opinion extremely valuable. Speaking with Adin Ross on a recent Kick stream, Makhachev claimed that Paddy Pimblett will have little opportunity to beat who he feels is the far superior Topuria, a devastating statement. Instead, he feels Topuria should take on Arman Tsarukyan, who is the division's top contender and a much harder test. Arman is the toughest fight for Topuria, I think, right now, and Justin Gaethje also. He's very good, but for sure not Pimblett. He has small chance. What can he do? A submission? Take him down? I don't know. I just think if you ask me who is the hardest fight in the lightweight division for Topuria, I say it has to be Arman, Makhachev told Ross, making it clear that Pimblett is out of the elite conversation. This assessment from Makhachev is devastating for Pimblett for several reasons. First, it comes from someone who dominated the lightweight division for years and knows exactly what it takes to win at the top. Second, Makhachev is basically saying Pimblett doesn't have the tools to compete with Topuria, not in striking, not in grappling. Makhachev's mention of submission and takedowns is particularly revealing. He's suggesting that Pimblett's only chance would be to catch a lucky submission, but even that he questions with, "I don't know," showing total skepticism. This means Makhachev doesn't believe Pimblett can take down Topuria consistently or control him on the ground, which are supposedly the Brit's strengths. The fact Makhachev puts Tsarukyan and Gaethje ahead of Pimblett as challenges for Topuria is significant. Tsarukyan is an elite wrestler with improved striking, while Gaethje is a proven knockout artist with backup wrestling. These are complete fighters who can threaten Topuria in multiple ways. Pimblett, in Makhachev's view, simply isn't at that level. This is also a clear message to the UFC and fans. Makhachev is saying, don't waste time with Pimblett versus Topuria yet. It's not a competitive fight. Give Topuria real challenges like Tsarukyan or Gaethje, who can actually test his skills and help him grow as champion. Pimblett needs more time to develop and prove he belongs in the elite conversation. For Pimblett, this has to hurt. Being so publicly dismissed by someone of Makhachev's caliber is an ego blow, but it's also motivation. If Pimblett wants to prove Makhachev wrong, he needs to start beating top contenders dominantly and show improvements in all areas of his game. Until then, Makhachev's assessment stands. Pimblett versus Topuria would be a massacre, and Topuria has much more dangerous fighters to face first. It's a brutal reality, but it's the honest opinion of one of the greatest lightweights of all time. Israel. Adesanya has shared his thoughts on the eagerly anticipated UFC 322 main event, and the prediction he made is shocking the MMA community. The former two-time UFC middleweight champion believes fans are in for a shock when Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev battle for the welterweight belt on Saturday night. Khabib Nurmagomedov's protege is expected to become a two-weight champion by extending his win streak to 16 at New York's Madison Square Garden, but Adesanya has other plans in mind. Israel Adesanya believes the ex-lightweight title holder's legendary run will come to a brutal end at UFC 322, a bold statement that's making waves. The last stylebender predicts their 170-kg title fight could end as early as the second round, showing total confidence in his training partner. Bro, I am not trying to count Islam out, but I know Jack. I know that when Jack keeps getting up, it's going to be a problem, and Islam's going to be forced to strike. and when he is forced to strike with Jack, he's going to get hurt, Adesanya said on his YouTube channel with unwavering conviction. In this fight, I really think that Jack Della Maddalena has the skills to stifle Islam's game and just be able to put it on the feet and knock him out. Might be second round, might be third, Adesanya continued, painting a devastating scenario for Makhachev. A clip of Israel Adesanya's thoughts about the UFC 322 main event has been shared on X and exploded quickly. It has quickly gained thousands of likes and hundreds of comments from fans, not all of whom agree with the middleweight legend's bold prediction, creating massive debate. While I don't mind a fighter's perspective, how often are they right? Hardly ever. Including Izzy, one fan said, questioning Adesanya's prediction track record, while another added, "That's how you know Islam is winning," suggesting that Izzy's predictions are usually wrong. A striker complimenting another striker against a dominant wrestler, a third person wrote, pointing out Adesanya's obvious bias. "Great fighter, but worst analytical skills," someone else commented, being brutal in their criticism. "I would agree with Izzy here, but him and Jack are friends. Why TFE? Would he not say this about Jack?" another ex-user added, highlighting the conflict of interest. "This fight won't go the distance. Islam by submission second round," a sixth person predicted, having a completely opposite view. Adesanya's prediction is significant for several reasons. First, he knows Della Maddalena personally through training, so he's seen firsthand what the Australian can do. Second, Adesanya is one of the best strikers in UFC history, so when he talks about striking, people listen. Third, he's essentially saying Makhachev can't compete on the feet with an elite striker like Della Maddalena. Adesanya's analysis focuses on a crucial point: Della Maddalena's ability to get back up. He's saying that even if Makhachev gets takedowns, Jack will keep getting up, eventually forcing Makhachev to fight, standing where he doesn't want to be. And once there, Della Maddalena's knockout power will be the difference, resulting in a second or third round knockout. However, there are obvious problems with this prediction. First, Adesanya's bias is clear. He's friends and training partners with Della Maddalena, so it's natural he'd believe in his friend. Second, Adesanya has historically been terrible at predicting fights, often getting them completely wrong. Third, he may be underestimating how dominant Makhachev has been against all types of opponents. Makhachev isn't just a wrestler. He has decent striking and an incredible fight IQ. He's not going to stupidly stand and trade with Della Maddalena if it's not working. He'll adjust, take the fight where he wants, and dominate there. That's what greats do, and Makhachev is arguably one of the greatest. That said, Adesanya's prediction adds spice to the fight. Now we have two narratives, most expecting Makhachev to dominate, and a smaller camp, led by Izzy, believing Della Maddalena will cause the biggest upset of the year. This makes the fight even more exciting. Let's see if Adesanya is right, or if he adds another incorrect prediction to his growing collection. Either way, this fight is going to be epic.